everybody. Welcome to One People with Rakshita. This is episode 4, and this is a very special episode. Why? Because I have a guest who talks about everything that I am myself learning and knowing more about. She talks about the topic which is very close to my heart, and I am sure will be close to yours as well. She talks about love. She talks about finding love that lies within us and finding it around us. She discusses and helps her clients with perspective shifts. She talks about how our thoughts construct our life. She's a certified NLP expert, she's a life coach, and she hosts various wonderful transformative retreats. Apart from that, she's also an entrepreneur. She's been running a successful marketing agency for past 6 years, and all of this when she's not even 30 years old. Please join me in welcoming a very, very special guest, Ayushi Mathur. Hi, Ayushi. Welcome on One People with Rakshita. I am so excited to have you on board with me. And honestly, I had a complete line of questioning ready for me to ask you, but I'm going to chuck all that and I'm going to get into an immersive discussion with you wherein, you talk about all the amazing things that one needs to experience. So before I delve deep into that, why don't you go ahead and just tell us who is Ayushi? Just a couple of words that describe you, and tell us little bit about your journey, how you got into life coaching, into NLP coaching. So let's start off with that.
Hi, Rakshita. Thank you so much. Thank you for your patience for me, being here. And I'm super excited for the discussion we have lined up. I know you have completely now, like you said, chucked out the questions that we had in line, but I'm excited for doing this impromptu completely. And to answer your question, who is Ayushi? Ayushi is a happy person to begin, right? So for me, my happiness is the biggest part of my life. I don't chase it. I just enjoy my life a lot. Even when, tough challenges are in my way, I just like to enjoy everything that I do. So that is Ayushi. And how I got into coaching was a very personal experience that led me here. I have always been a confident person, a joyful person. I was brought up that way. But due to certain experiences, I lost all my self-esteem, self-worth between 2017 to 2020. And when I decided to build it back up, stop the negative influences in my life, draw a brown boundary with them, that's when I got the courage to build myself back up. Like, I would like to think that I was at rock bottom in 2019. I was really at rock bottom. I had just sitting, I was losing, I had lost 8 kgs. That's how unhappy I was. And when I built myself back up, the confidence I gained, the happiness, the joy that I gained was incomparable, right? And that's how I got into coaching. I felt that if I could feel this way, I would love to help other people feel this way. So ICF and NLP were just tools for me to do this professionally. Yeah.
So when you talk about you hit your rock bottom, you talk about you try to overcome that. If you're comfortable, share a little bit about what it was and how, despite all those challenges, you managed to come out a winner. I know it's easier said than done, but if you can shed a little bit of light, because we personally always feel that we are alone in a battle, but we know that there are many people going through the same experiences in life, in this entire world. And that's the very objective of One People, to connect each of us through emotions and experiences. So if possible, please share a little bit about what was the struggle that you were going through and what steps did you take to overcome that?
Absolutely. So like I mentioned, I have always been a risk taker, confident person, and that's how I was operating in life as well. When I met somebody who I started a business with, and I really do believe that hurt people hurt people. There's nobody inherently bad, but someone who's really hurting and who's insecure and all of that ends up hurting other people. So the person I was working with was very, very hurt in himself. which is why he started saying certain things very, very frequently that were judgments on me. So I was judged constantly for what I wore, how I spoke, what I did, who I hung out with, everything, like everything that there could be. And initially it didn't impact me, but if this goes on for 2, 3 years, you start doubting yourself. You start really believing that, okay, maybe there's something wrong with me. When someone's so close to you, constantly, someone you trusted, constantly keeps telling you negative things about you, makes you question every single thing about yourself. Even my spiritual practice was questioned again and again. So when all of that happens, you hit rock bottom, right? Like you reach your self-esteem and self-worth goes to the ground or even below that, if that's possible.
Yeah.
And that's what happened with me. Everything I would do, I would pick an outfit and then I would look at myself and I'd think in his words. Right?
Oh.
I would talk
Yeah.
to somebody and in my head, I would be like, oh, hey. So originally my intention to talk to that person was pure and was good, but in my head, I would doubt it again and again. So
Because you had absorbed his words.
yeah.
You made them your reality. That's why we say that surround yourself with the right people, because it's the environment, it's the words, it's their actions which influence our environment as well. We are what we surround our mind and ourselves with in terms of people, in terms of thoughts, and their actions as well.
Absolutely. You're right about that. And that's what happened with me. I lived it, right, for 3 years. And the self-doubt was so massive that it was impacting not just my mental health. Of course, it was impacting my mental health, but also my career, right? I stopped taking risks.
Yeah.
That's what I've been doing since forever, but I stopped taking risks. I stopped doing things I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Right? And then one fine day, I think the lockdown really helped in that, because that's when I realized I can function without this setup. I can do this on my own. I can move on. I can move forward. That's when I finally gathered the courage, after having tried to break it up or break it off for a while, finally had the courage to, just let it go. Because lockdown, you don't meet people, you can do it online, and then so I did that, and it took me, I'll be very, very honest, right? When I first did that, when I first drew that boundary, I went into a very bad, unhealthy spiral. The first unlock when it happened, September 2020, I started partying a lot.
Oh, okay.
3-4 times a week.
Use other external things as distractions rather than having time for the self-reflection, internal reflection.
So I think October to January, I was just partying because finally I felt free. Nobody was judging me. Nobody was there to. So I overcompensated by doing a lot of things that were unhealthy for me, my body.
As an act of rebellion.
Yes, absolutely. Act of rebellion, right? Right words. And in January, when I started, like when I took a pause and I realized, hey, I'm feeling absolutely unhealthy, not just mental health wise, but physically. I felt bloated all the time. I felt just at unease. That's when, self-love was something I started really getting into, started finding out what exactly is self-love and how it's so much bigger than just skincare and exercise and all that. So yeah, then I step by step built it back up, and now I'm here. Yeah.
So when you talk about self-love and when you talk about that you got influenced by somebody else's reality, or basically his thoughts, his hurt. So at any point in time, did you realize, or did anybody around you make you realize that whatever he's telling you is nothing but essentially a projection of his own reality? You didn't realize while you were in the relationship or your business partnership. You realized it much later, right?
Initially, I mean, people were telling me, people who were close to me, like my best friend and other people, they were telling me that this is completely unhealthy, but I would justify his actions again and again. And I think a lot of people do this. A lot of my coaching clients have come up to me with similar problems. And a lot of people do this. They'll justify, they'll give excuses for other people's wrongdoings.
Right.
I realized it later that now, today, when I look at 3 years ago me, I'm surprised, I'm shocked that how did I even allow someone to say even a sentence of that? Today, I draw boundaries on day one that, hey, that's not how you talk to me. Yeah.
I think that's mostly because people don't, even when they're in the situation, they're not able to see the whole picture. It's
Yeah.
only when they get a chance to step outside and probably have a little bird's eye view or an external view, a disassociated view of the situation, they're able to evaluate it better. Because that's the situation when they are able to look at the picture as a whole and realize that whatever is happening is right or not.
Yeah,
So
you're
I think that's the very first process, very first step to get into that entire circle of self love and start exploring who you are, what you would like to be, and what kind of, more than anything, what would you like to feel in this life on daily basis.
That's so true. What would you like to feel? That's a great start. That is, yeah.
Yeah. So Ayushi, uh, many of us struggle. We are in a relationship. We are in a relationship. First of all, I feel that a lot of us are in a toxic relationship with ourselves. We criticize us. We criticize our actions. If there is a failure, we go into complete dejection of who we are as a person. We blame our actions. So I would like to start from that point. How can one go about just isolating their emotions or themselves from the results and the outcomes of the situations that they're experiencing? Is it at all possible?
It is, of course. In coaching, we really do believe in this thing that you are not impacted or you're not the result of your circumstances, right? It's the other way around. So the better your relationship with yourself will be, the better your external circumstances will be as well. But in order to start that, like you said, we get so harsh on ourselves when we, let's say, fail, or when something bad happens. Our first instinct is to be harsh towards ourselves. But there's something I say this to every single person that I come across who's struggling with this, is that who is it who's going to be with you from the day you were born till the day you leave this planet, this earth?
It's us.
It's you, right? Your parents are going to leave you, your partner, your kids, everyone's going to leave you in some way or the other. We are with us through and through. So if we are not our biggest cheerleaders, who else will be? Right? Because we'll spend the most time talking to us only. So why can't we talk to ourselves how we talk to, let's say, our younger sibling, or how we talk to a friend we care about? That's all it takes. If we can just change the internal narrative, so many other things will just change.
So Ayushi, a lot of us are results of our circumstances. Many of the people go through back-to-back rejections, and that forms their reality. Is it possible to step out of that reality and reshape it? I know we say that we need to be kind to ourselves, but despite all that, what if we again face the rejection from the outer world? What if we are again not able to, say, get a right person in our lives, right love, right connection, right job, or the opportunity we desire? How does that come into the perspective and shaping our reality?
So I'll answer this first, and I'll answer it from a very personal point of view. I have been rejected so many times. I've had, and I say this out loud to everybody, I've had so many heartbreaks that if, and I really do believe that if there was someone else in my place, they would have given up on love. They would have.
Really?
So where I am today, I'm in a very happy, healthy, secure relationship. But 10 years to that, right? Like I started dating 10 years before that, before finding the person I am with now.
Wow, a decade.
Yeah, and a decade of heartbreaks. A decade of heartbreaks. I've been cheated on, I've been abandoned, I can't tell you how many things, right? But and the only thing I'm so happy about today is that if I had given up on love, right, I wouldn't be where I am today. But how did I get here? How, like, to answer your question, how do we not make ourselves the result of the circumstances?
Yes.
Is by understanding what do I have to bring to the table. When I am so secure in myself that I have so much pure love to give to the world, why wouldn't it come back to me? It will, for sure. I just have to be patient. This 10 years of heartbreaks were just a way for me to fall in love with myself more, because I allowed those many people to break my heart and I lost it over them. But then, because I went through that, I also realized that I had it in me to continue giving love. So all you have to do is ask yourself, what do I have to bring to the table? And how can I be purely in it? How can I be pure with it? And this applies to jobs also, all kinds of other rejections as well. You have to know what is your value, the value you're adding to the circumstance, the relationship, the job. And if you do realize, once you do that reflection, if you do realize that, hey, maybe I wasn't giving enough love, or maybe I wasn't skilled enough for this job, you don't need to feel bad about it. This is an opportunity to work on yourself. That's it. Everything is figure outable, like I like to say.
Yeah,
Everything is figure outable.
everything is figure outable.
Yeah.
So I want to ask in this very same, realm of discussion that we are having. What about if the person is giving their 1,000%? I'm not even saying they're 100%, like all that they have to the relationship. They are going far and beyond for the other person, or they're putting in, clocking in extra hours, overnight hours for the job. They're giving in everything. Still, they are not able to get the result. So, what is the first step to rectify the situation in that scenario?
My question to that person or to you is, are you giving that 1,000% and maybe 1,001% to yourself first? Your number one priority, even if you have kids who you love unconditionally, should always be you. You cannot keep pouring from an empty cup. So many people say this, but so many people don't understand it. Even though I love my partner to bits, I love myself more always. So I'm only going to do actions that fill my cup first, and then I'm going to pour into other people. So you have to really take a step back and ask yourself, what are the things that I love to do just for me, without looking at the consequences, without looking at the impact it might have on my partner, on my kids, or anything else? What am I doing for myself? And I guarantee you, a lot of people, when they ask themselves this question, no, am I giving myself the 1,001%? They will break down. They'll start crying because they'll realize they're not.
They're not. They're not even close to giving themselves, I think, 1%.
Yeah.
So, Ayushi, what is the first step towards this journey? How does one start?
It's a very logical step. It's taking that step back. You realize, oh my God, I'm giving so much, I'm not getting anything. You take a step back from that. Just give yourself 3, 4, 5 days. 5 days of not giving anything to anybody. 5 days of isolation.
Okay.
And then ask yourself, make a list. What are the things that I love to do, but I haven't done in a while? It could be something as simple as going to the coffee house and reading, right? A lot of people love doing that.
Yeah.
It could be as simple as just walking to a nail salon and getting my nails done, not for a party, not for an event, but for myself. Or enrolling in a Pilates class, or whatever, just what is it that I like to do for myself that I haven't done in a while? Because my relationship came in, my job came in, my kids came in, my mother came in, all these things.
Life happened, crisis happened,
life happened,
years happened.
Yeah. So it starts with that list. And then you don't end at that list. You start doing those things consciously. Okay. 5 days you do them in isolation. But after that, you ask yourself, how can I integrate these little things that I do just for myself in my everyday life? Where can I find time? If I don't find time for myself, who will?
Who will? Yeah. So basically prioritize yourself.
Yeah.
But I am totally on board with what you're saying. And I have always been my number one priority. It took a back seat when I got married, when I had a baby, because of course then baby became the priority.
Yeah.
After he was a certain age, I started finding myself to have more time at hand and started going back to the things which I love doing, be it interacting with people, be it reading books, be it a lot of other things which I love to explore in life. And that happiness, that contentment did reflect in the relationships as well, did reflect in my daily pursuit of things, how I conducted things, how I felt about things, how I felt about doing regular chores as well. So I think you're very right, finding time for yourself is the very first step to do that self reflection of the things that literally give you pure joy.
Yeah, yeah. Because when you come from that, when you operate from that space, no, where you're already giving yourself so much love, you won't show up in a relationship needy. You won't want
You'll be so
the other
content.
person.
Yeah.
Yeah, you won't want the other person to fill your cup because your cup is already full. You'll show up with pure intentions in that relationship then to have joy together.
So if somebody is um, so happy being by themselves, like I am one of the happiest persons. You lock me up in the home and just let me be. I literally do not need anybody else because I am so busy doing so much of stuff and not that stuff doesn't make me feel like I'm working, I'm doing a lot of work. So in all that context, when you're so content with yourself, when you're so content with your own being, you're happy by yourself, how does those all the external relationships come in play?
We don't seek relationships to make us happy. We seek them to grow. Because you're so happy in yourself, there will come a time where you're limiting yourself. You stop growing as well. Because you have everything you need. But
Yeah.
when you build a relationship with someone else who's going to be different from you, who's going to have maybe some different values, beliefs, they're going to challenge you. They're going to help you grow. And that's what good relationships can do.
Okay. Let me shift focus to women now. So, Ayushi, you're talking about self love. You're talking about finding time for yourself. You're talking about being aware and filling our own cup. Now, a lot of women struggle to do that. A lot of young married women or young women, who's moved into say, a nuclear setup or a joint setup, have a baby or two. How do they go about finding this definition of self awareness and self love?
It starts with breaking the beliefs that the society has made for us, right? Women in this society are brought up in a way that, oh, you have to be kind, you have to be a giver, you have to be a nurturer. Nobody actually tells us where do we get it from? Who's going to give to us? Who's going to nurture us? Who's going to love us, right? So we become givers very early in life, even before getting married. We just become givers. We give in so many families. I've seen the women giving more to their parents than the men are, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and that's very common across the board because women are brought up as givers, but and we start feeling guilty when we take or demand.
Yeah.
That guilt kicks in. So first is rewiring this whole system of belief that hey, it's not bad to ask for more or to want more because I'm giving so much, I deserve more as well. And it will take a lot of reminding yourself this again and again because I've been doing that too. For the last 6 months, I've been telling myself, I deserve more, I want more, and I will ask for it from my partner, from my family, from my brother, from everybody. And that's where it starts.
But how does it affect the relationships in the long run? Like, I know women has been the care, always have been the caregivers. They've been the one who sacrifice the most and the ones who adjust the most. Um, so when women start demanding, how does it impact the dynamics of a relationship, dynamics of a family, dynamics of somebody who's just played the role of a nurturer, of a caregiver, of a nourisher, suddenly stands up for herself and demands? Does it lead to more breakups? Does it lead to probably divorces, breaking up of families? How does it, the entire self concept of self awareness, self love, fit in the construct of our Indian society and Indian families?
Initially, there's going to be resistance from within you and from the people around you as well, because they are so used to you giving all the time and not demanding, not asking, that you're going to face resistance, right? And I've seen that in my clients also. They'll come back to me saying that people are calling me rude, or people are calling me too much, or things like that, right? It might, while I agree, it might lead to breakups or divorces, but only in the case where the communication is not flowing completely, right? Just because you're demanding more doesn't mean you stop being kind. You show up in that demand, or you show up asking in a kind manner. You communicate. You say, hey, I am so grateful for everything you do for me, and I'm so, I'm so happy for the relationship we have. But lately, I've been feeling a certain way. I've been feeling a little less loved. I would want more of that. And if you think this, we can work out on this, you can give me more love, I would love to show you how to love me more. So just showing up in a very kind and understanding manner, not in an attacking manner. Hey, you're not giving me any love, what is wrong with you, right? Like not showing up in an attacking manner. Showing up in a kind and empathetic way can go a long way, and it will just improve the relationships in the long run.
Ayushi, so what is a prerequisite for that demand? I know it's a lot of women crave love, a lot of women crave attention. More than anything, a lot of women crave the care from the family, because as you mentioned, and as we're all aware, women has been caregivers, and they've been always pouring. So in order to be in a position to demand something, what do you feel is the prerequisite? Is it financial freedom? Is it just self-awareness? Is it education? What are the prerequisites that a woman needs to have to be in a better position to make such demands? Because at the end of the day, being kind and empathetic will fall on deaf ear if the family doesn't share the same emotions, if the family doesn't resonate or even acknowledge your basic needs as a human being, that yes, you need to be cared for, yes, you need to be tended to as well.
So the prerequisite is nothing material. It's always psychological and emotional safe space. A safe space where you can communicate how you want to. And it has to be built. I know that it will at the end of the day come down to the women only to build that safe space in their house, but it has to start somewhere. It can even start by asking for vulnerability from our partners, from our in-laws, or from other people, right? That, hey, I'm here to listen to you. I would love to hear you out. So you show up first, and then you show them how to show up for you. So it is going to take a lot of dancing back and forth, but that psychological and emotional safe space has to be built first. Everything else is just something that will add on to it, like financial independence and all of that. It'll just add to your circumstance, but it has to start with psychological safety. Can you share without being judged? Can you share without being questioned or taken in a defensive manner, right? And that happens when we show the people around us that it is okay to do this. You can come to me with whatever you're feeling, and I will be here holding safe space for you.
Yeah. Okay, so in the construct of being falling in love with yourself and having that deeper level of self-awareness, how does one go about balancing family values and the jobs and the tasks that only you have to do, along with caring for yourself? How does one go about doing that?
I love this question, because we make it very complicated, but it's not as complicated. You know how you run a company or how you run a business, you can run the family exactly like that. And this is something I do with my family and my partner also, that we have monthly or quarterly reviews and checks, right? We'll sit down, we'll make what is the goal of the family. What do we want more? Let's say we want to travel more, we want to have more family time, we want to, whatever it might be. We find common goals, and then we divide the responsibility. That, okay, if this is a common goal, what can you do? What can I do? And if you start feeling that I'm doing everything, you communicate. So planning and communicating can go a long way. There's no difference in the family dynamics and company dynamics if you really look at logical level.
So you talk about company setup, you talk about managing things from the perspective as if you're managing a company. Many a times companies fail. So how does one address the fear of failure and the fear of stepping out of their comfort zone?
In a family setup?
In both family setup as well as the corporate setup, even from this angle of self growth, because many people, they have one life and they spend their entire lives just being one person. They are scared to explore new avenues in life. And me as a person, I have friends from school and colleges, and this is not a recent question. I have been asked this question multiple times. I'm not able to answer it because it comes very naturally to me, but I am able to switch fields and experiment with things far more easily than many of my friends are. So this question always pops up, Rakshita, how can you leave one thing which is up and about and happening, and at its top just shut an eye and jump into the other without worrying about the consequences? Now, by the consequences, I don't mean the detrimental consequences on the family or the people who are close to me, but just essentially the monetary part of it, right? It comes in easy for me because I know I build a safe space for me in terms of finances, in terms of my family. I have a cushion of strong financial support in case any crisis hits me. But what answer do I give to my friends? How do I tell them? I can't simply tell them that that's my nature. As a human being, I am. If somebody needs to build that talent or build it as a skill to be more adventurous in life, how does one go about doing that?
So 2, 3 things. First is that the fear never goes away. As humans,
I know. I mean, I have jitters even before every podcast. So,
right? As humans, we are wired to face fear, right? Like we are wired to feel the fear because our brain is just trying to protect us from discomfort. So that's always going to be there. So whenever somebody asks you, how can I overcome this fear? You never do. You do things scared. A lot of times you'll be scared out of your mind, but you still have to take the action. Right? That is
how does one move from that, that stiff zone which literally freezes? Like the fear can be literally chilling, it can go down your spine and leave you motionless and leave you, not take any action. And here you are saying that chuck that, face the fear and take the action. How does one do that?
You tell me, you're doing it scared, right? Like you said, whatever you're trying, does the fear ever go away? No.
I think it thrills me more than the fear. It's I transform my fear into excitement. I take it as a challenge. Whenever I remember when I was starting out with my podcast, it took me a week. I recorded a podcast with my very first and very special client, Akansha, and my camera did not record anything. It recorded just the video from a side angle, which was crappy, all sort of nonsense in the frame, and there was no sound, just the jarring effect. I did that podcast, and it was one of the, again, very wonderful and very special podcast because it was the first one. But by the time I moved on to the second podcast, I kept on delaying the recording of it. But when I got to it, I fixed the camera and the speaker just half an hour before that podcast. So I think I was thriving on the rush. So in fact, I had informed the speaker also that there is quite a high possibility that we will still be recording through Zoom video. The quality might not be high, but I'm trying my level best. Only if the video quality is high enough, will this video go on YouTube. And fortunately, that thrill, excitement transformed into learning. I learned, got confident, and recorded the podcast. And that was the very first ever podcast that went live on YouTube. So I think that's where I draw the juice from.
Exactly. And you answered it, right? We are all going to fail. So the fear of failure is justified. We are going to fail. You're telling me that people are not switching jobs or taking risks. Why? Because they're in one path. But look at the last 3 years. Hundreds of thousands of people around the world lost their absolutely cushy jobs, absolutely secure jobs, right? hundreds of thousands of people. Then what? If they don't venture out, if we don't upskill or widen our base of skills and knowledge and experience, then we will fall flat on our face. So risk is actually helping us to do better in life these days. So if there is a risk of failing wherever you are, even if you've been a top-notch consultant for the last 15 years, you can still fail.
Fall flat on your face.
And just like you said, the first time you do something, it might be absolutely crappy. Absolutely. Right? And you will judge yourself for
and that crappy stuff. The thing is, sometimes we fail to face our failures, but sometimes I feel the reasons I come out victorious is I face my failures right in the face. I went ahead and uploaded that podcast. I went ahead, uploaded the audio version of it and video snippets of it in the reel. So I feel that overthinking, see, stress is really good in its pure form. Stress is something which helps us survive. It helps us thrive. It's only when we compare ourselves with other people, we compare ourselves with what we see on social media, we turn stress into something very toxic. When we fear about the judgments of others, what will others say, what will others think about us, basically when we try to imagine how we will be perceived, that's when we get locked. Our limbs get jammed. The moment we realize that everybody has their own shit, everybody is having their own share of failures, they might be visible or not, they are going through their own crisis in life. That's when we realize that, let them be who they are. I am not judging them. They also won't judge me. Let me just put out whatever I have made. At least I have had the courage to make something.
Absolutely. And the fear of judgment is the fear of judgment from ourselves. We put it on other people, but it's not from other people. I like to equate it with this, that whenever you're scared to put out a new video online or do something that is risk-taking or can involve judgment, think about it this way. You walk into a party or a networking event, who are you thinking about the most 90% of the time? Oh, how am I looking? Am I dressed well? Am I speaking well? Everyone else in the room is doing the same thing, no matter how big shot they are. They hardly have time to think about you.
And they do not. Whatever they're thinking about, eventually they project on you because that's their thoughts. But nobody is literally thinking about you. They're thinking about how they will be perceived in connection to the actions that you might be doing.
Exactly.
So at the end of the day, they're thinking about themselves.
And we get so caught up in judging ourselves that we don't even allow others to judge us for the thing. We don't even get to that stage. We get frozen, like you said, right? We reach freeze and we stay frozen because we're judging ourselves so much.
हम पहले ही अपने आप को reject करके out कर देते हैं.
Exactly. That's what I tell people. Give others the opportunity to reject you, na, first. Get there. You're not going there only.
Totally on board with that. So, talking about rejection, how does one go about taking the rejection? We work so much. We plan for certain milestones. We plan for certain things. We dream about them. We work towards tirelessly towards them, be it a dream job or be it a dream destination. But many a times those dreams don't convert into reality. So in that situation, how does one face and overcome those failures?
So failure and rejection is nothing but a place for you to stop and reflect and review. If it didn't work out, what went wrong? What can I do differently from now? Instead of ruminating in the past constantly and whining about it and complaining about it and overthinking, because logically, practically, scientifically, you can't go back and change it, right? So what is the point of ruminating in it forever? Might as well ask yourself, what can I do differently from now on so that I don't have this failure again? That's it. What can I do differently? It's such a powerful coaching question also that we ask our clients. What can I do differently today onwards? That's it.
When the situations are not in our hands, how does one react?
If the situation is not in our hands, can we do something about it? Is the question, right? Like, I don't, honestly, I've reached a point where I don't understand why people spend so much time trying to control the situations that are not in their control.
Yeah.
There are only two kinds of situations. And you ask yourself, can I do something about it? Yes or no? Yes, then what can I do differently? No, I can't do anything about it. Then is my stress serving me? How is me overthinking and stressing and crying or whatever they might be doing serving me? If it's not serving me, can I move forward from here? That's it. It's such a powerful question. Is this serving me?
Is this
anything negative, if we are trying to let go of, whether it's a habit or a certain feeling,
yeah,
stop and ask yourself, how is this serving me? At the end of the day, we want to do things that serve us to be better, to feel better, right?
right.
Simple as that.
So many a times we see people at very good positions, or we generally see people who are doing well in life. They also, when are scared to try new things, they always have this mindset that, if they're doing good in life, there is no need to try out different things. Or they come up with logic like, it's all well, why do I need to sabotage all of that and explore new avenues? So is this a right mindset to have?
It completely depends. This is where you figure out what I'm trying to do differently. Like if I'm trying to start a new venture, even though I'm very secure in my job, why am I trying to do that? Is this because some need in me is not being fulfilled? That's why I want that. Or is it because other people are pushing me to start that venture? It's simple, right? Is it coming from within? Is it a internal desire or is it external?
Right.
If it's an internal desire, you'll have to do it. Otherwise, you will feel unfulfilled and unhappy for the longest time. And probably one day on your deathbed, you would think, oh, I wish I would have done that. So if it's an internal drive, internal desire, you have to find ways to do it. And if it's not, then you ask yourself, why am I being influenced by someone else telling me to stop that venture or buy stocks or do whatever, that other people tell us to do? Yeah.
I think answering your why is the answer to everything, because that helps you reason what are your intentions behind doing a particular thing, what are your intentions and reasoning why you want to explore a new avenue. Your why needs to be answered in life. Only then you will be able to put in your 100%. Without a why, even if you jump into a new thing, you will not be able to justify it, because your actions, your intentions won't be right. You won't have passion driving it. Exactly. So answering your why, I think, is something which can help all of us.
Yeah, start with why. It's a book. Yeah.
Fabulous. So Ayushi, tell me, share your favorite quote, something which inspires you, something which drives you, something which is really motivating and hopefully gets to inspire us as well.
There's this quote I came across when I first started studying to be a coach. And it said, if I am sufficiently self-aware, I will self-correct.
Okay.
And I love that. If I can see what's going wrong in my life, right? If I'm self-aware, I will self-correct. Why not? So that's it. Like if one thing you can work on self-awareness. And self-awareness comes from asking yourself the tough questions that you're scared to ask. Yeah.
Right. So if you are to have a chat with, say, younger Ayushi, what would you tell her, or what advice would you give her?
The advice would be that you have so much love within you. You have so much brightness within you. Don't ever let anyone else dull it. You don't have to dull it for anyone else. To make someone else feel secure, to make someone else feel happy, you don't have to dull your shine. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that as well. Beautiful, beautiful quote, Ayushi. Thank you. Is there any favorite book of yours? Any book which you tell your clients or people you meet that, this is a must-read book, which also has been transformative, might have been transformative for you in your journey.
The Courage to be Disliked.
Ah.
That book, because we are, as society, we've been operating from the psychotherapy side of things, Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung, that side of things. So we focus so much on our past, our traumas, our triggers and all that, that much focus on our past is not letting us move forward. Whereas The Courage to be Disliked is based on Alfred Adler's psychology, which is all about acknowledging, yes, I have past trauma, but what can I do next to make my future better? And that's all it's all about. So The Courage to be Disliked, absolutely recommended.
Must read by you.
Yeah.
Great. So, if you could have a dinner or a conversation with any of the most influential people on the planet, who would that be? And what would that conversation look like?
Wow.
Threw in a surprise question for you.
A lot of people, but in my own personal journey in the last few years, the one person that I see as my North Star, right, is Mel Robbins. I really do like her work.
I love her, yeah.
And she is so raw and so edgy and so
to the point.
She would be in bed and pull out her phone and start recording and post it. So I really like her journey, and I've read a lot of books by her and her podcasts and all. So I would just sit down and just not even learn, but just chit chat with her. That would be really good. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, I might want to join in that conversation.
Yeah.
So, Ayushi, tell me, what is the ultimate definition of happiness, success, and this perfect life that we're all chasing? What is it in your head? What does it look like? From the point of view of, say, a life coach and an NLP coach who understands so much about subconscious, how our thoughts shape our mind, how our thoughts shape our reality as well. So, what is the definition of success? What is the definition of happiness and having a good life as per you?
The definition of happiness is sustainability for me. That even if things are not perfect, even if there are so many flaws and loopholes in my life right now, am I still enjoying the journey? That's it. You continue to enjoy the journey towards it. And success, I love this. The definition of success for me is time. That I'm able to give time to whatever I want, to whoever I want, whenever I want. So that is success for me. Yeah.
Fabulous. What would you say is the number in terms of age when one can, start exploring on that, exploring and going on this self-awareness journey? Is it in their teen years? Is it in their early 20s? Is it in their mid-20s? Or is it when they're considering, say, settling down? Because I'm speaking to a lot of speakers in their 30s, and most of them have the pressure of settling down and getting married and starting a family and all of that. So what in your head is the ideal time to start, so that one can plan their future, mold their personality, know their non-negotiables, so on and so forth?
So two things. One, biologically, you must have heard so many times people say that 27 is that age where your neuroplasticity also slows down and you really get very formed in your beliefs and your habits and actions and all that. So I would say mid-20s, like 24, 25, when you start earning, first of all, you're becoming more and more independent around that age.
Yeah.
And you're also exploring the world. You're dating a lot, you're seeing people. 24, 25 is the right age to get into all of this self-awareness, self-love and all that, because it gives you enough, like 2, 3, 4, 5 years at least, to explore before you get married also, before you choose big decisions in your life, so that you can show up in that marriage completely secure. Even if you're not fully healed, you're at least secure. Yeah. So 24, 25.
You are confident in your being. Okay, yes, lovely. So I said that was the last question. Now I have one more question. I want to understand what are the non-negotiables one should and must have when being in a relationship with somebody else. I know we discussed throughout about relationship itself and being self-aware and how self-love is the most crucial part. But what should be the non-negotiables when somebody is getting into a relationship with somebody else, of course?
One big non-negotiable should be communication. However you're feeling, you should feel safe enough to come and tell me that, and vice versa, right? Communication. And communication will build a lot of other things then. Expectations, respect, and all of that. One is that. And second, this might be personal, but I would love if everyone does this, is be proud of being with your partner in public. And vice versa, right? Like whoever you're with, they should be proud to be with you publicly. And if they're not, there's something wrong. Yeah.
Fabulous, Ayushi. I think this has been profound. And I did mention in my intro that you are doing amazing life transformative retreats and one-on-one coaching in addition to being a full-time entrepreneur, marketing entrepreneur. So I just have to say that I am honored to have you on my podcast. This conversation, this chat has been nothing but lovely. Thank you so much, Ayushi. It's been absolutely amazing. It's been profound. And I look forward to having you again very soon on One People with Rakshita. Before I sign out, how did you like your chat with us?
I loved it. Your questions were so hard-hitting. And I'm sure people who listen to this would take away a lot from this. So I really do think you're doing great work. And I heard other people's podcasts that you did also, other guests that you've had. I've loved it. I've loved it.
I'm so glad
what you're doing. Well, thank you so much.
It serves as a great encouragement, Ayushi. I'd be lying if it doesn't, but truly. Yeah. And you took out time. You tried to have this chat, record this chat not once but twice. So thank you for your patience and thank you for all your energy and effort. It means a lot. To all the viewers, this is Ayushi Mathur. She is a wonderful entrepreneur. She hosts various retreats that are transformative and will help you have that perspective shift that you all might be wanting but never had the courage. Hit her up. I will share all the details about her in the description of these posts. Apart from that, if you enjoyed this podcast, do not forget to follow and rate it. Share it with your friends and family because self-awareness and self-love is something which we all need in our lives. It's only when our jug is full, when our cup is full, we can pour it into other people's cups, lives, jars, whatever that might be. You need to be content. You need to be full. You need to be happy, at peace, at harmony with your own self. Start with your self-awareness journey today.